Believe Santa will be here in just a few days inside the Gamecocks, the show. Welcome back. Always live from the Sinorama Studios. We're joined by one of our favorite people, the head baseball coach of the Gamecocks, who has cleared some time on his schedule to wrap up the year with us, Mark Kingston. Hey, man.
Guys, how you doing? Good to see you.
It's good to see you, too. Mike Tyson says Merry Christmas.
Pretty good.
Do
Pretty
you
good.
do you have an ugly go-to sweater for like an ugly sweater party?
No, I'm so boring when it comes to that stuff. I'm sure my kids and my wife would love for me to be a little bit more into that stuff, but I'm just not. I should be, but I'm not. So apologies to them.
Is
That's
that a
all right.
Batman shirt you have on?
It's so crazy.
Oh,
you
no,
said
it's
that,
Under Armour. I
JC.
saw
It's
Yeah,
Under
yeah.
Armour, but my wife said the exact same thing this morning. So you look like Batman with that shirt on. I said,
I was going to say,
"What's
he's sitting there
worse
talking
than
about being
Yeah,
boring,
Mike.
but he's really into comic books, I'm like, yeah.
Well, as a kid, I was. We could probably talk comic books from my childhood, but yeah, it's fun. It's funny you say that, JC. My wife said the exact same thing about 30 minutes ago.
That's funny. Are you getting some time off? You get some time to enjoy with the fam?
Yeah, a little bit. It's this is probably the one time of the year as we get into December where baseball coaches at the college level get a little bit of free time because there's recruiting regulations, and our guys have finished their exams and they're home with their families for the holidays. So this is really one of the few times during the year where we get a chance to just kind of catch our breath. If you want to get away for a little bit, you can do that. Spend time with your family. I've got two kids in college that'll be getting home from college here shortly. So this is a time of the year the baseball coaches enjoy a little bit. Obviously, we love the competition during the year, but the flip side of that is a chance to catch your breath too.
Yeah. I mean, thank goodness you don't have to go through what like Shane and his staff have to go through during the holiday season, man. That is nuts. The transfer portal, signing day. I mean, they're not in a bowl this year, but when they are in a bowl, you get all that stuff culminating around the holidays, and you're a coach, so you just spoke to it. It is nice to be able to sit around with your wife and children every once in a while. People
It
forget
is.
that y'all actually can do that, right?
Yeah, we watch a little football. We celebrate the season, and you actually get to contribute with some of the Christmas decorations and do all that stuff. So it's a good time of the year. Again, we all love to compete and we love the season, but this is a nice close second.
Are you the Christmas chef?
I am not. I have very few skills outside of the baseball stadium. My wife would be happy to tell you that. My skills are baseball related, at the field, recruiting, all those things. But when it comes to anything outside of that, I'm a one-trick pony.
Oh, not even like the Christmas lights? You don't even decorate?
No,
That's
I did attempt that this year. I did
okay.
the exterior of the house. My wife buys these poinsettias from Michael's every year they're not real. They're the fake ones, so we get to reuse them every year. So we put a bunch of those out in front of the house. I did the exterior lights on the house. We put the Christmas tree up, and then I was a big part of that. So I did contribute. It may be a little bit higher level than normal this year, so pretty proud of myself for that.
All right, so for those that haven't been keeping track, I have. We're 56 days away from the first pitch of the Gamecock baseball season. Miami of Ohio will be in town. 15 of the first 18 games will be played at Founders Park, and really 16 if you want to include Segura because it's right around the corner, where y'all will play Clemson in week 2. When you look back on this 23 year, how do you summarize what your guys did and what y'all did this fall moving forward?
Well, if you look back at the season, I thought it was a really good season. I think it's the kind of season that we now expect to have from a lot of different angles. Obviously, we were playing to go to Omaha at the end of the year, which we want the expectation to be, and it should be. We set some records. We had some unbelievable players, and we had some unbelievable stories. The Ethan Petries, the Cole Messinas. We had a high number of draft picks as it compares to a lot of teams. I think this is the kind of year that we want to have basically as our standard, and then obviously go up from there. We know the standard is a national championship. You can't do that every year, clearly, but we want every year to know that we're right there in the mix. We're going to be in contention. We're going to be one of the top teams in the country. And so I look back at this year as just signs that we can get there still. We know what we're doing. We have the right players and the coaches, and a lot of things are starting to come together for us that I think will put us in position that this year it will be fairly routine, and then we just need to continue to work on knocking that door down to be one of those final 8 teams in Omaha. But it was a good year for us. We set records with GPA. We passed on a lot of guys into pro baseball. We were at one time ranked as the number 2 team in the country before the injuries hit us. So it was a good year. I'm not going to call it a great year, because a great year is when the Gamecocks are in Omaha. But it was a very, very good year for us, and something that we are building on as we speak.
It is so we all don't remember. I don't remember what I did yesterday half the time. But when the dust settles and you look back on things, of course, we were covering y'all, I mean, minute to minute throughout the season, as you well know. And those injuries, that was crazy. It was crazy that the fact that y'all even survived that to get to the super regionals down in Gainesville, to do what you did at home in the regional. I mean, that was a significant ordeal for this program, and somehow you held these guys all together, or they collectively held themselves together, and y'all survived it. There's most programs, I don't think a lot of people understand college baseball and how some of it works, and that's okay. It's not a shot at anybody. It's hard, and most programs don't survive that. How did you survive it?
Well, I give our team a lot of credit. The kids in that locker room, we had good kids, good character people, and we had good talent. We had some depth. Everybody always wants more depth in college baseball because we only get 11.7 scholarships. So to put together a full pitching staff, a full starting lineup, one of the best offenses of the country, it's hard enough to do that on 11.7. But then when you lose some key guys, when you lose Noah Hall and Will Sanders as your Friday and Saturday starters, when you lose Cole Messina for an extended period of time with the concussion, and you lose Braylon Wimmer with the hamstring issue for an extended period of time. And, people kind of forget how important Will McGillis was to us last year. Will McGillis had 14 homers and 99 at bats. And so he missed basically, I think it was 60-70% of the season. So that was a big bat we were losing as well. So I give the credit to the people in that locker room. You have good character guys, you have guys that won't give in. We just kept plugging along, and we had some adversity. There's no question. We went to Kentucky, and it wasn't easy for us. And we had team guys, unselfish guys that were willing to do whatever we needed in the moment. Cole Messina played third base a lot of games for us just because LeCroy was out and McGillis was out and Wimmer was out. And so Cole Messina went over and was willing to play third base. And that's not his natural position, obviously. And he's had a few struggles, but he did it because it's what our team needed. And he's that kind of kid. So I just give a lot of credit to the guys in that locker room. I think, again, the coaches and the players are on the same page and knowing what our goals are and supporting each other and having each other's back. And when you have that and you have the talent necessary, you can survive some of that adversity. And I think a lot of teams don't either have that culture or the talent depth to be able to deal with what we dealt with last year and still be knocking on the door to Omaha. So I give the coaches, the players, everybody credit for us all getting through it together.
Yeah, it's really tremendous. And you've said it before. Monty's mentioned it to us too. A lot of players, I wouldn't have been a player that did this. I mean, y'all had guys coming up going, "I'll do it, coach. Just put me over there. I'll figure it out." And that just doesn't happen. And I mean, it's really tremendous. Mark Kingston, the leader of one of the best programs in college baseball, right here at the University of South Carolina. It's 11:45 on our final day of the year here, December the 21st. So you got Matt in now as your pitching coach. You brought in Joey Holcomb from Campbell. Tell us about those guys and how they've impacted you so far.
Yeah, they've been great additions for us. Matt Williams is known around this state in recruiting circles and pitching circles, and from scouts, his reputation is extremely good, both as a developer of pitching talent, but also with how hard he works in recruiting. And we've seen that from the first day he took this job. And so he's been a great addition. Joey Holcomb was known as a great developer of hitters and offenses. Campbell, outside of the Power Five, was probably the best team in the country last year. Outside of Power Five, we saw them up close and personal in our regional, and he was in charge of the recruiting and the offense. And Campbell was very high powered and probably did much better even than than they should, but that's a testament to the work that he had put in. So to have him and Monty and Matt Williams all together on our staff, it's a superstar staff, and we're very lucky to have all of them. They're just high level workers, high level thinkers, and they all really have good relationships with our players, which is, in this day and age is extremely important as well. So it's a really good, strong, experienced staff, and all four guys, including myself, obviously work very hard in recruiting and have great experience in recruiting, which is paramount these days. If you're not bringing in good players, then it makes it tough. So all four guys have extremely high level of expertise and experience in recruiting, which is really important.
How do you recruiting is interesting in college baseball, isn't it? Because so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. You can answer them in any order that you want to. First of all, the talent level in South Carolina has always been pretty good. I felt like a few years ago, maybe it was down a little bit. That was just a personal opinion. I don't really know if that's true or not, but there's always been outstanding players that come from here. And then being where y'all are in Columbia, you're a hop, skip, and a jump from Atlanta. You can shoot down to Florida, and they have all these big tournaments. And so you don't have to necessarily travel the country really to go watch all the great players. They kind of come to you, don't they?
Well, it's a mix. You always want to recruit from the inside out. And by that, you mean you want to do really well in your own state. And when you do that, you get the best players you can from your own state that you think can help you get to Omaha. And then once you've kind of exhausted that inventory, then you branch out. And for us, we branch out to North Carolina and Georgia and Florida. And we've gone to Illinois to get the Jack Mahoneys of the world. We've gone to Florida to get the Ethan Petries of the world. And there are a lot of legends that have played in our program that were not from the state of South Carolina. So you have to have a mix of all of it. There's not enough good players in any one place to think that we can just always go there. So it needs to be a mix, but it always starts with our state. And there have been a lot of great players come through our state that have played in our program that have helped us get to Omaha, and that will continue. The recruiting, I would say it's ratcheted up even more so now that Monty has joined us, and we've gotten some inroads because he's been here his whole life, where I've been here for 5 years. And so he's been a great addition in terms of just the connections within the state. And so I think we're doing a really good job within our state right now. And if you look at our 24 class, or 25 and out to 26, it's very, very strong in the state of South Carolina and who we have committed already. And I think that will only continue. So you always start with the inside out. We want to be the best in our own state. And then when we need more past that, that's when we go out to the surrounding states and anywhere else. Anywhere that there's a great player that would want to be a Gamecock, we'll go find him.
Back in the it was after the season, probably like July or August, somewhere in there. I want to say it was more like June or July. I texted Monty one day, like when the portal. What's the portal calendar? Did the portal open at the end of the year? Am I remembering that correct?
It's right after the season.
Okay, so I texted Monty, just thinking about him one morning, and I said, dude, I don't know how y'all do this. I mean, this is insane. And he sent me a screenshot of his computer. And don't worry, I couldn't see what was actually on it, but he sent me a screenshot of the computer, and he said, went to bed last night at 12:30, been up since 4:30, and then I won't say the rest of it, but went through the process of look at every player, how you contact them, and then we'll do this all day again, and then we'll get a few hours sleep, and we'll do it all day again tomorrow.
Yep.
Describe that, man. I mean, how much it's changed since you got into coaching, and now you got this portal stuff. Like, what can we fix it? Is it a problem? Like, what do you think about all that?
It's all of the above, guys. When I first became a recruiting coordinator at Tulane University in the summer of 2001, I had just left Miami. We had won a national championship there, and that opened up opportunities nationally. And I went to Tulane to be the recruiting coordinator. They were also coming off a trip to Omaha in that year. So I look back at that was my first year as a recruiting coordinator, the guy in charge of putting a team together. And what we did back then, this is going on over 20 years ago, you had to sign 5 to 7 players in the fall that would be the majority of your recruiting class. That was it. And whether it was high school or JUCO guys, you signed probably 7 to 10 guys maybe in the fall, and that was it. There was no, transfer portal. There was no NIL. There was none of that stuff. And so fast forward 20 years later, it's a lot more complicated because, as you guys know, all the factors to look at are it's 11.7 scholarships, it's 27 counters. Now they've raised that to 32. The rosters have gone from 35 to 40, and the counters in terms of scholarships are 27 to 32. But they have not moved the 11.7 number, so that 11.7 still pertains to those players. You have to factor in all of those numbers. You now factor in the transfer portal. You recruit from high school, junior college, and now from fellow Division I schools in the portal. You have to keep track of all those things while also keeping track of the Major League Draft, who's coming, who's going on your team, who's coming and going from your junior college recruits, who's coming and going from the high school recruits. And then even in the transfer portal opens up before the Major League Draft. So you are trying to figure out who's going to the portal and or the draft, who have we signed in the portal that will still get drafted and he'll never spend a day on this campus. That happened to us last year. We signed a right-handed pitcher out of the portal that ended up being a 4th-round pick of the Red Sox and never made it to campus for us. So it's very complicated. But you have to love it. And if you love it, it's a great challenge. And so I don't think you'll ever hear our staff complaining about it. I think you'll just say, hey, we love to recruit. We love to add to our team. We love to get to know recruits and their families. And I think we're pretty good at it. And so you factor all those things in. And when all is said and done, when classes start in August, you have your team. But there's a lot that goes into getting to that point.
Coach, how
That's
much?
Where JC comes in, the NIL.
You read my mind. So as we move forward with all this, and I would love for the NCAA to be fair and give you guys 40 scholarships because I think the sport deserves it. It's the most American sport there is. I mean,
Amen.
What are we doing?
Amen.
Look at all these ballparks getting built. Do you think there's not interest in this sport? It's crazy.
Totally. We had Michigan was in the finals a few years ago. I mean, that was big for the national attention of the sport in and of itself. I mean, when a cold weather school could make it. But so as we move forward, how important is a robust NIL offering going to be, and can it set you guys apart? And as a coach, when you kind of look at it, could it be that one day an NIL program here, elsewhere, wherever, could fund 40 scholarships? Would you look into that, or would you maybe want to split it up a different way? I don't know. We talked to Chad Holbrook the other day, and I said that's kind of my goal with Carolina Rise, the collectives, and what I do with that sport is to make it to where none of these guys have to pay for school. But what are your thoughts on that? Can a program realistically get there? Just kind of give your overall opinion of the NIL situation and how that factors into a million other things you guys have to do during the off season.
Well, that's a loaded question, and I could probably speak for the next 2 hours on that one question, and I won't do that because I don't want to bore you for that long or your audience. But I can tell you the Carolina Rise has been huge for us to this point, and we're only going to need it to continue to grow and be a bigger factor for us. Because it's not only player retention. We all know that. Let's have real talk, right? Players in all sports want to be retained. And I think the number one way players are being retained these days, if they're on the fence, is with those dollars. You want to create a culture. You want to create a program where people want to be a part of. But if life-changing money is thrown at guys in all sports, they have to take a step back and ask themselves, is this a way I can take care of my future, my family's future, help my family in a number of different ways? And so the NIL is here to stay. And you can either be a part of it, you can complain about it, or you can just say, if we want to have success, we're going to have to be involved in it. And so the Carolina Rise, the Garnet Trust, they've been very important for players that we've been able to retain and also add to our program. And it's not going down. The numbers will only continue to go up. It's just the way America works. It's the way our society and economics works. Whatever something costs this year is going to cost more next year. And whether it's a quarterback, whether it's a shortstop, whether it's a point guard. It's just the way of the world right now. And so players are expecting scholarships. They're expecting a great culture and program to join. And they're all asking questions about the NIL these days. It just is what it is. And so you have to be strong in all those areas. In our sport, there's close to 300 schools playing baseball, and only 8 get to go to Omaha. So if you're not an exclusive company, if you're not operating at an elite level in all the different areas that are required for a student athlete, then you're not going to get to Omaha. So it's our job as coaches to recruit good players and create an environment and a development program that people want to be a part of. The second step is having the ability to provide NIL funds through collectives like we've been able to do, so that kids say it's a slam dunk. I want to be a Gamecock. Because look, we've all had situations where everything was right, but another school just said, we've got a lot more NIL money for you. And that's the direction a kid went. So it's all important. And the NIL component is becoming a big piece of that puzzle for us.
Well, Coach, we've got a few minutes left, and then we'll let you run. But on the field, I mean, we watched Cole and Ethan and Gavin and all these kids last year. Who, by the way, we got a chance to meet a lot of these kids this fall at some of those NIL events, and I think I texted you this and told you just could not be more outstanding representatives of the baseball program. I mean, all those guys, every one of them. Matthew Becker, met some of their parents. I mean, just amazing kids. But I mentioned the Big Boppers, and then we learned not too long ago that y'all signed another kid who came in. He might have been a transfer portal guy, and he was hitting the ball further than all of them. I don't even remember what his name was. Monty told me, and I can't remember what his name was. He said, "Dude, he's hitting balls out of sight. They're just disappearing in the sky." Who is this kid?
Well, there could be more than one, so you're gonna have to help me out and give me a name, because we've got a few guys. Yeah, we've got a few more big guys. One thing that we're really encouraged about with this club going into 24 is our offense last year. We were top 10 in the country in homers, and we were the top 5 in the country in walks. So you talk about discipline and power is in the modern game, because of the power arms and because of the high level of strikeouts at all levels. Discipline to get on base and power once guys are on base is really important. And so we were in the top 10 in both categories last year. We look at this year's team as having a little bit more power and a little bit more discipline. Like it was hard for our pitchers this year to pitch to our hitters and inner squads, because they just have such a high level of discipline. And when they throw strikes, we were crushing the ball, and we hit many more home runs this fall than we did last fall. And that was a top 10 team in the country in terms of power. So we're really excited. And like you said, it could be 3 different guys that you're talking about. It could be Causey. It could be Jones. It could be any number of guys. Yeah. It could be any of them. We didn't lose much off of this offense, and we added some really good pieces, older, stronger pieces that have a lot of experience and power. So it's going to be an offense. It's a lot of fun to watch. The challenge, as we move forward, is okay. We've got which pitchers are going to become the next Hicks or the next Mahoney or the next Sanders, or on and on. We've got kids that have the ability, but they just haven't done it yet. So the key is which guys step up and take those kind of roles. I think they're there. It's just a matter of which guys will do it.
Yeah, the Causey kid is who I was thinking of.
Yeah, he's an interesting story, guys. He's a kid that played at North Carolina, graduated from North Carolina. He's a South Carolina kid. He was drafted out of high school, and then he had a lot of injuries, and he just never really hit his stride there at North Carolina. He's a big kid. He's 6'6", 230 pounds. He hits them over the lights, and he had a decent fall, not a great fall, but a decent fall. But he hadn't played in over a year. I think it may be close to 18 months where he graduated and he was away from the game because of injuries, but he has 2 years of eligibility left. So Monty did a nice job kind of finding this guy, and it's a high risk, it's a high reward, low risk proposition. He came in here not asking for anything but an opportunity. And he's a kid that if the light goes on, if it clicks, he could be a guy that's really fun to watch, because it's like watching Josiah Seitler hit. That kind of power, that kind of kid. And he's a lot bigger than Josiah, if you can believe that. So he's an interesting kid. I call him Roy Hobbs. because the whole Roy Hobbs story, you guys remember the natural. He took off for a long number of years and then just came out of nowhere and started hitting homers all over the place. And that's what I call Causey. I tell him Roy Hobbs. And of course, because of the age difference, I had to explain to him what the natural was and who Roy Hobbs was. But once he got it, he thought it was pretty good.
Hopefully he's watched the movie by now.
You would think so, right?
Yeah, you don't ever know. Who's the heart and soul of this team? Is it Cole?
It's Cole Messina. That's a very easy question. You guys will ask me a lot of tough questions. That's a very easy question. Cole is the heart and soul of this baseball team. He's an absolute gamer. He's a competitor. He holds his teammates accountable. He's a winner. And on top of all that, he's the first team All-SEC catcher, which means basically he's one of the top catchers in the country. So, and he's a great story too, because he had a tough freshman year, didn't play a lot. And when he didn't have success, but he went out that summer and got a lot of at-bats in the North Woods League, just went to work, and he's starting to see all the payoff of that. So he's the heart and soul of our team. He's got a brother coming that's scheduled to come in next year in our 24 class. So again, I think that speaks to what families feel about our program, and that his younger brother is also going to follow in his footsteps here. So Cole Messina is, as he goes, we go. That's why when he was out with the concussion last year, it hurt us. It really did. So when you have a guy like that, that catcher of your team is like the quarterback of your team. When you got a good one, everything else kind of flows a little bit easier.
He's my favorite player by far on this team. I'm a big fan.
Hard not to
and
be,
just
right?
let everybody know his dad's
Yeah.
name is Mike Messina, but it's not the Mike Messina. So
no.
Spelled differently. He's not the former pitcher of the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah. So just want to let everybody know that one.
I think that was Mike Musina. I think that was Mike
they spell it totally
that's right.
different. People are like, that's Mike Messina's kid. And I'm like, it is, but it isn't. I want to ask you quickly just about two players, because
take as much time as you guys want. I'm here with you. Take whatever time you need.
Kennedy Cooper and my guy Roman Kimball, who does really good videos and has really done some good promo work in the NIL end of things too. The transfer from Notre Dame, rehabbing. What's their progress been like? I know Kennedy's new, Roman's been rehabbing, but tell us about those guys.
Yeah, well, Roman, as you guys know, you see a lot. I don't know how much you watch of his videos on YouTube, but I think he gives you a pretty good glimpse into our program and how hard we work, but also how much fun the guys have. And we've talked about it. That's something that I've kind of loosened the reins a little bit over the years. And I want guys to have fun and I want guys to really enjoy this experience. And so he's a guy that we're counting on. Last fall, he was arguably our best pitcher last fall. And that included Jack Mahoney and Sanders and Hall and all those guys. He was our best pitcher last fall. He had the unfortunate injury, which caused him to need Tommy John, but he's getting back. He'll be fully healthy by the time the season starts. And so he's in contention for one of the weekend spots. It's a fastball that'll be up to 96 when he's right. He's got a lights out breaking ball, and he's a competitor. He did really well in the Cape Cod League the summer before coming to Columbia. And he's going to be a really important piece of the puzzle. And as you guys see in the videos, he's really liked a lot by his teammates. He's a Gamecock through and through. It didn't take him long to kind of fit in and catch the fever. So he's going to be a big part of what we're doing. And the interesting thing is his videos that he said that he puts out, like, it's been an asset for us in recruiting. Guys see that and it's like, man, I want to be a part of that team. That they're really good, but they have a lot of fun too, and it looks like a close team. And so his videos have been an asset for us in recruiting. I've had recruits tell. I ask them, hey, how much do you know about our program? Like, not a whole lot, coach, but I've watched the Roman Kimball videos and it looks like a great place to be. And so that's been really beneficial. I think it'll be beneficial for him because when he's done with baseball someday, I think he's got a great career in that line of work. So he's a great kid. Again, he right up your alley of what you guys like. Hard worker, good kid, a lot of fun, and very talented. So, and then Kennedy's a guy that's going to be right there in the mix for playing time. He's a left fielder. So we've got a little bit of a crowded outfield of really good players. We've got Kennedy. We've got obviously Petrie. We've got Dylan Brewer back. Stone is there. Blake Jackson, it was maybe the talk of fall ball for us, the transfer from Charlotte. He was hit at the top of their lineup last year on maybe Charlotte's best team in a long, long time. He's a Brett Gardner type player, but has home run power. And really can be a prototype leadoff hitter for us, maybe like we haven't had in a while, because he's a very high on base guy. He's a scrapper, just the kind of guy that we wanted to add to continue to add balance to our offense. So there's going to be a lot of competition for those spots come springtime, but Kennedy's going to be right there in the mix. He's an All-American last year, and the guy that has a chance to be really good for us.
I gotta say, I feel like you could say that about a lot of positions on this team. I mean, I feel like you're pretty good at catcher. You probably know who your starter is there. At least your number one guy is Cole Messina. But everywhere else, I mean, they're everything. There's a competition. You might have in mind who you're going to start, but it doesn't mean that you might not be surprised when y'all start practicing here in a few weeks, Coach.
Well, last year at this time, we didn't know what Ethan Petrie was going to be, and we didn't know what Cole Messina was going to be. So I've coached long enough now to know that, don't get too close-minded and think that you have it all figured out in December, January, and February, because Ethan Petrie did not start opening day last year. So there is still a lot to be determined. And I've seen guys make great jumps from the end of fall ball to the beginning of spring because they just work their ass off for the 6 weeks when they're gone, and some guys get a little complacent. Some guys work their ass off and make a big jump from November to January and February. So I want a team, as a general rule, I want a team where you're like, man, you got a lot of studs. He's probably going to play. He's probably going to play. He's probably going to play. But then you also want a little bit of a mix of, hey, there's also some spots where there's good competition, and because competition always breeds work ethic.
Yep.
Nothing makes guys work harder than when they're competing for a spot. So you want to have that mix of superstars like we have, but also really good players behind them and in other spots, so the guys know, hey, if I slip up or I get a little lazy, people are going to notice, and that guy's going to get his opportunity right next to me. So I think we have that. I really think we have that.
We were joking about you at the end of last season, JC and Phil and I thought, and we were just looking back at the year, what a year it was. My favorite memory of the whole Gamecock athletic department for the season was what y'all did against LSU and what you did in the regional. But at the end of the season, we were like, if there's anything that you can bang King on at this point in time, is that he didn't start the guy day one who ended up hitting 375 with 23 jacks and 75 RBI.
Yeah. Well, that was
his reluctance to start the freshman. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Either that or it was brilliant, and that's what jump started him. That got him going one way or the other.
Right. Well,
I'm just a baseball fan, right?
Yeah. In my defense, it took me 2 pinch hitting opportunities by him to say, okay, I think I may have made a mistake here. And I'm not too proud to admit when I make a mistake. But he'll tell you, if you bring him on your show, he'll tell you he did not have a good spring practice before the season started. He had no homers. I think he hit like 220 against our pitchers. And so he hadn't just found his groove yet. But obviously, once he did, it was historic. And so we're very fortunate to have him on our team. And the great thing is he's only a sophomore. So he's a guy that's going to be here for a while.
I have a bad habit of texting Whittle on y'all's opening day the last few years, giving my opinion on who I think looks good, right?
Yeah.
A couple years ago, it was a pitcher that came in. He transferred, I think, to Kentucky. And, I'm never right. This year, after the pitch hit, I was like, hey, that Petrie kid looks – I called him Petrie. I was like, Petrie looks pretty good, doesn't he?
Yeah. He did that for 55 games, Coach. We got him corrected on the final game of the season.
I nailed that one. I'm batting 063 on that, but I nailed that one this year, so I'm proud of myself.
That's good. Well, it was history repeating itself, because when I was at the University of Miami, we had a kid named Kevin Howard, and he was a kid that had come in from California. He did not start the opening weekend, and he ended up winning. He was a third baseman, and he ended up winning the National Freshman of the Year in Baseball America. And he did not start opening weekend at Miami. So it's funny. I had always told that story to guys, just to say, hey, don't get frustrated. Things are going to change. It's like the stock market. Stocks go up, stocks go down. You're going to get your opportunities. And I always use that story as an example to, hey, opening date is not the end all be all, but now I've got a second story. Now I can tell the Ethan Petrie story that, hey, just keep working, because your opportunity will come, but be ready when it does. Because luckily Petrie was ready for that pinch hit when we won 20-3 on opening day. So everybody got to pinch hit, and I'll never forget. He was like, ooh, that looked pretty good. Next day, same thing. And by day 3, he was in that starting lineup. So it's a great story to tell guys, just to keep on working.
Well, and the crazy thing was, I mean, clearly by his numbers, like, we kept saying through the first couple of weeks of the season, after he got in there and he was doing what he was doing, and I kept telling these guys, like, at some point he's a freshman. At some point in time, he's going to hit the skids. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then a month later, he's going to hit the skids at some point in time. He never really did. Like, he'd have like a few games where, he might go 4 for 15 or something, but that's not a slump.
No,
not
that's
baseball.
Just baseball. Yeah, that's just baseball.
Yeah.
That's going to happen every now and then. But no, and again, you guys have met him. He's a great kid. A lot of pride in our program and our school. He's what you want. He's, as coaches, those are the kids you dream about recruiting, landing, and then having them come in and be everything that you think they could be. And, I just think he's starting to scratch the surface of what he can be. Just so you guys know, last fall, he hit 1 homer. This fall, he hit 6. So the improvement curve is moving in a really good direction. So we're lucky to have him.
We just got something. I want to ask you about this moment specifically. Somebody in our chat box, he said, the moment in Founders when Petrie homered off of Skeens was so awesome. When that ball left the yard, or when it left his bat, what were you thinking?
I tell you what, you're giving me chills just talking about that right now, because I'll never forget that. That's one of those moments in sports that you're a part of that you'll never forget. And that's one of them, because it was Sanders versus Skeens, and it was basically number 1 versus number 2 in the country. And it was, hey, this is for SEC supremacy. And it was just superstars playing superstars. And when he hit that homer off Skeens, and what did he have, 7 or 8 RBIs that night?
Yeah.
Like, you talk about a coming out party.
Yeah,
and I've never heard Founders Park louder in the time that I've been here than when he hit that homer. And it was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. So for me, that's why I came here, for moments like that. We just want to have a heck of a lot more moments like that as we continue to go forward.
Oh, man, well, that was wild. Did you say anything to him when he came in the dugout, or did you just kind of nod your head? And
you know what? I every time he does something, I call him the unicorn. I say, dude, you're a unicorn. There's just nothing else like you. And so that's really all I say. I probably a couple expletives that I can't say on your show, out of the emotion. But yeah, fun to watch. A lot of fun to watch.
Coach, we can't thank you enough. Do you have like are you a Christmas music guy, or are you like, nah?
It's funny. I was on a show earlier today, and they were asking me about, different music and Christmas music. And I mentioned, when I was a kid, there was a New Edition soundtrack that was a good Christmas soundtrack that my brothers and I used to listen to.
New Edition.
Yeah.
I love it.
Out of nowhere, huh? And so
that's I mean, I dig it. I dig it now, but in the 90s, I probably would have not.
Yeah. Look, so we all evolve. We all have different tastes, and you want to have a good portfolio of musical taste, right? So, when I was in high school, New Edition was one of the cool groups, and they came out with a Christmas tape, and it was actually pretty good. And so, outside of that, there's some good Christmas music out there, but I wouldn't say I'm an expert on the category.
As long as it's not Last Christmas by Wham, I can't do that one. That's the one.
That's not.
That's not mine. And I don't mind Wham, but that song just and the what's her name that does the All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Come on now, that's a good one. I like that one.
Yeah, JC, come on, man. You talking about Mariah?
Yeah.
That's actually a good one, JC. Come on.
Yeah,
you guys are killing me.
That's a bad. You can't. That's not good.
It's terrible. Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. Anyway,
you got to change your tastes around Christmas a little bit. Just everything if it's happy and puts you in a good mood, it's not can't be wrong.
Hey, I'm gonna go download the new edition Christmas album right now, Coach. Thank you so
Look it
much.
up. Look it up.
Yeah,
It's good. You'll be surprised. It's very good.
Hey man, I know we kept you a little bit longer, but certainly glad to have you. It's our last day of the year here. We're going to take some time off too, but we know we'll have you plenty when we get into 2024 with the season right around the corner. But what an honor it was to be able to cover that team this year. You fell just short of Omaha. You've got the group hopefully to maybe get you back there this coming season. I know you're itching to get there yourself. You know Omaha pretty well over your years. So, Merry Christmas to you and your family. And to all of Gamecock Baseball, thanks for what you do for us. You make us better when you come on, and you've certainly made the state very proud over the last year. Watching your Gamecocks get it turned around and get it right back in the right direction.
Well, thank you for that. Appreciate you guys very much and everything you do. Your shows, the Carolina Rise, just so many things that you guys do for us as well. So, Merry Christmas to you guys. Happy holidays. Happy New Year to you guys, to everybody out there listening, all the Gamecock fans, and yeah. Before we know it, it'll be opening day at Founders Park, and that's another holiday in and of itself.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
Hopefully it's good weather this year. Baseball generally, it warms up, and then you get to opening day, 30 degrees.
Yeah.
We don't need
question.
that. We
No
don't
question.
need that. Merry Christmas, Coach.
All right. Same to you guys. Appreciate it.